the studio is Sunny Angel from Shiv Shakti Healing. Morning, Sunny. Welcome to Radio Oakham.
Hi, morning.
Hi, good to have you along this morning. And so I'm wondering, first of all, the media, sort of the idea of ghosts in movies and these sort of TV shows. What are your thoughts on that?
I think to have the awareness about ghosts and spirits is really good, but the way they are shown in the media is a bit silly.
Yeah, it comes across as a scary and obviously a negative thing, but actually I've spoken to a few people who, have told me about their experiences, and they say they feel a comfort. It's not necessarily a negative.
Exactly. I mean, the way spirits are, basically a lot of them are our loved ones, and we should find comfort in being able to communicate with them, see them, hear them, feel their presence. The way they show them in the media, it's like horrific, demonic, and not all spirits are like that. Some are, if you go to the wrong ones, but they're not all like that.
No, and actually I imagine it can be quite comforting for some people, particularly if you've lost a loved one, to be able to speak to them, communicate, and I guess sort of know that they're all right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So let's talk a bit about what you do. Tell us a bit about what you do with your business, Shiv Shakti Healing. What's that all about?
With Shiv Shakti Healing, I do a lot of healing work. I do past life regression, Reiki, and Shiv Shakti itself, the healing. But I do a lot of paranormal as well. So where one has got hauntings in their house, where they feel there's somebody there, or there's trapped souls, and or they feel they've got a spiritual attachment, to them or their children. So if someone doesn't know what a spiritual attachment is or a trapped soul, me and my friend Donna, she's a paranormal investigator, absolutely amazing. We're doing a paranormal event on this Friday, the 28th of February, 7 p.m. to 8:15 at the Bisley Studio near Bisley Yurt. So I thought I'd get that done out of the way.
Absolutely, get the plugs in. But those sort of events are going to be really interesting, because a lot of people may, I guess, through what they know and what they've seen of ghosts and paranormal, they're maybe scared, and maybe they think there's something in it, but they're too scared to kind of explore it in some cases, I imagine.
Yeah, this is why we want to bring the awareness there, because we've got our clear senses. So if we think, oh, what's that? Did we hear something? Did we see something? We can smell something. Can we actually smell cigarette smoke or toast, or can we smell those roses, but there's nothing there? Are we getting paranoid? Can we see that? Can we see that dark shadow there? Or, is there someone behind us? Are we feeling like this, are we being watched? But quite often it's our clear senses, our spiritual senses that are showing us that there's spirit there, with the goosebumps and things like that.
Okay, so let's go through clear senses. Can you sort of explain a bit more about that?
Yeah, we've got our normal senses like sight, hearing, touch, smell, but we've got 9 clear senses, like clairvoyant, clear seeing, clairaudience, which is clear hearing, claircognizance, which is clear knowing, clear intellect, which is clear thinking, clear empathy, which is clear motion, clear sentience, which is clear physical feeling, clear tangency, which is clear touching, clear salience, which is clear smelling, clear guscience, which is clear tasting.
Okay. So, is this something that anyone can, learn, or is it something that some people have, some people don't? How does that?
We all have this. We actually all have this. We were all born with this. So quite often you'll see children saying, we can hear this, we can see this, like when you see your cat or dog looking at something, you know what they're looking at, and quite often children will be like, we've had this dream, or there's a shadow, or there's someone standing at my bed, and you're probably freaked out, but your child's talking to their imaginary friend. Quite often they're seeing spirit, talking to spirit, hearing spirit.
And I guess for children as well, they're more, as adults we get sort of bogged down with there must be a logical explanation, we don't believe in ghosts and kind of dismissing it, but as a child, that sort of innocence of young people,
Yeah, so we all actually have this, but as you say, we get older, we've got road traffic, we've got bills,
we've got life,
children don't pay bills and drive in traffic. So, so they've got the purity, they've got the light, so they've got their senses, and this is is quite often why spirit comes to them. So when they've got, when there's trapped souls around us and they're fed up and they want to go to the light, they will see a child or they will see mediums and they will come drawn to the light, and they'll say, right, we need help to go back up.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things that with this awareness, we're like, if a child is telling you, I can see something, believe them.
Yeah.
So with paranormal investigations, what we do is, like with Donna with her equipment, with the EMF meters, REM pods, spirit boxes, it actually shows the non-believers, like, look, this is spirit turning that on. This is spirit speaking through the spirit boxes.
So when somebody sees that for the first time, maybe someone who would be a non-believer who sort of thinks, oh, this is a load of mumbo jumbo, and they come along and they see you. What's their reaction when they see it?
I think after crapping their pants, it's pretty much like when Donna's got this amazing Demonica doll, with the red eyes. When that comes on and it starts rocking, it's like, oh my God, no one's touching that doll, and it just suddenly starts, the eyes come on and it starts rocking. You're like, yeah, there's a ghost in the room, everybody, it's rocking.
And it's interesting that people would call you up if, they experience things. We talked about, maybe some, they feel there's something there, they see something or experience things. So someone phones you up and says, look, I need your help, I feel there's a haunting. What would be your sort of next step? What would you do?
We'll just ask them, what their experience has been so far, so we know what kind of level it is. If it's just so we can gauge whether it's a loved one communicating with them, or we can engage if it's like a nasty entity, if it's something like a spiritual attachment that needs to be removed. So like an exorcism kind of thing, that can be handled as well. So.
And it's interesting because we all live in potentially older houses, many of us, and you don't know the history of those houses, what's happened in that building before you lived there, and if there could be all sorts of things going on. So, that could be sort of a spirit there or something from the past of that property.
Yeah, I mean, quite often, a spirit has passed away in that house, someone's died in that house, and they've been a trapped soul, they don't want to leave. So, and we find that quite often where someone's like, we don't know what's happened, this house seems to be haunted, we've moved here, we don't know the history of the house, and then the neighbours are like, yeah, someone died in that house.
That's what you want to know, isn't it?
Yeah, so when I was like, have you asked your neighbours what's happened? And they're like, oh yeah, someone died in the house, we got it really cheap, but that's why we moved in. It's like, well, okay, so then when you go in that house, and quite often the spirit's like, well, we don't want to move, and it's like, well...
So they still see it as their house, particularly, I suppose, if someone's lived there for many years, the spirit would see it as, what you do in my house sort of thing.
Yeah, and then when you get to communicate with the spirit sometimes says, we're not moving because we're waiting for our children to come back home, and quite often it's a sad story because they're waiting for their children back home or their loved one to come back home, and that's why they're refusing to go to the light. So it's not just that someone's moved in their home and it's my home, I'm not leaving, because they know you can't take the house with you. They're just bricks, you can't take it with you. It's not because of greed, sometimes it's a deeper meaning,
And that must get really emotional for
you. It does.
Convey those sort of messages back to the person, the house owner or whatever.
And sometimes it's not just the person that's just died, and passed away. Sometimes that spirit's been there hundreds and hundreds of years waiting for their loved one, and their loved one's not coming back because they've already moved on. And sometimes, we're doing spiritual work, you've got to explain that to them, and then they move on. Okay. So, sometimes it's unfinished business,
So how do you communicate with a spirit? How do you sort of open up those conversations?
That's really interesting.
Yes.
That is really interesting. It is. Well, it's something, someone that communicates with trapped souls. It's called a psychopomp. It's a funny word, psychopomp. But so you've got mediumship, that's someone that deals with spirits, loved ones, and then you've got psychopomp, someone that helps trapped souls go to the light. So I'm a psychopomp.
There we go.
It's a funny word.
Yeah, I love that. Psychopomp. There we go. Okay. Why don't you talk some more? We've got a few questions coming in from our listeners as well to put to you. James has got a good question. We're going to put that to you shortly. But let's get to about 23. So somewhere in a traffic jam in Woking, we have Donna on the line. Morning, Donna. Good morning. Good morning. So you have a question for Sunny, I believe. So there you go. So Sunny's here with us.
Hi.
I do. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Donna.
I'm going to ask you, because obviously you're the person that knows these things, and also you're the least likely to think I've gone completely mad. So, hey. I just wondered that I believe that once you pass away that you haven't completely gone and you can go to all the places you wanted to go and go and see the people you want to see. I have 3 or 4 people that I believe would be around me to check I'm okay, not 24/7. And I suffer with my anxiety quite a lot, and sometimes when I'm silly things, like I might be out walking a dog and I worry because I'm on my own. I feel like there's somebody there, you know, there's always the usual, there's a robin or there's a bird that I associate with my grandma, etc. But there's also other people, and this is going to sound a bit silly. I always panic that I'm like thinking it's the wrong person there. Like, how do I know which of my friends or family that I think would be checking on me is actually there?
Interesting question, Sonny. Bless you. So this is a really good question, bless you. Sometimes when we get to an age where we've lost so many people and we don't know who it is that's there looking out for us, it is quite hard to see who is who. But there are ways that we have, like. So when you say you see different signs, like a robin and different signs, so in that moment, you feel there is somebody there, you can actually ask, like you can say like a certain, if it's a family member or a friend, you can actually ask like internally, so like in your mind or your heart, you can just say, so for example, I don't know if it's a family or a friend, you can just say by their name, if it's you, can you please give me another sign, or could you just send me a sign, like could you give me some goosebumps on my left arm or my right arm, like, or could you tap me on the head? So it's a sign that you would recognise. Okay. Could you give me like a tickle on my nose, or so something that so they could tap you, you know? So it's something that you would feel on you. So like, say for example, if it was your mum or your dad or like your best friend, you know, you can just say, could you do this to me, or tap me on the left shoulder, or could you tap me on my head? If so, I know it's you. But if you'd have like a gut feeling that you know it's your mum, or you know it's your best friend. Sorry, I don't know who's passed away. I don't want to.
Well, recently, actually, just last week, my dad passed away.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry to hear that. And it's actually in the last week, weirdly, I've just constantly smelled cigarette smoke when I'm sat in the front room, and no one in my house smokes or has ever smoked, so there's no reason for that. But my dad did smoke, so I sort of wonder if that's the case. But previously, unfortunately, my best friend sadly took his own life in 2021, and my sister-in-law passed away a couple of years ago. I sound really jolly now, don't I? And you know, before that, it was, you know, my grandma passed away a very long time ago. And there will be some things, like if I'm out walking and I sort of feel that someone there, I won't repeat what I say because it's never very complimentary to my friends. But I will do something like randomly trip over a stick that's not there, you know, suddenly appeared from somewhere. I'm like, oh, right, okay, I know it's him because he's tripping me up because he thinks he's funny.
Yeah, they will do that. They'll have their own humour, like how they were here, they'll be there, and then if you trip up, and even if you tell them to, yeah, you know, thanks for that, have a laugh, you know, he'd like that, he'd like that. And in regards to cigarette smoke, that well could be, you know, the, like what we were saying about the clear smelling, clairsalience, you know, the clear senses. This is not what we have, like, to actually smell, so it's just you smelling it. There's nobody in the house smoking, but it's the clairsalience.
No one else smells it. Nobody else has said to me, what's that smell? It's only me smelling it. So just you smelling it, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's your clear senses, you see. Because, like, if it's something that your dad used to do a long time ago and he liked it.
Until he went into the care home, he was a big smoker, but in the care
home, he wasn't able to. So yeah, that's his sign. You see, that's his sign that he's there because he likes it.
It's interesting, Donna. You have your sort of belief in this sort of thing, but when you find you're telling other people, and you mentioned you don't want to sort of come across as being silly, do you find that people kind of reject it when you say this is what you feel was happening?
I mean, it's very difficult, isn't it? I've always said you can't prove either way. If anything, could be, it's like, I don't want to go too into things, but, some people are religious, some aren't, and there's no one can tell me that somebody is following me any more than someone can tell me someone isn't. It's your own belief. But there are some things, I think we mentioned before, I don't know if this is the same lady we spoke to last year about Phil's funeral, and Rosie was at the back of Woking Crematorium.
Yes.
And from nowhere, a pine cone, because she waited outside with a family friend, and from absolutely nowhere, a pine cone came and hit Rosie on the back of the leg. And Rosie and the friend she was with, were looking around. There were no cone trees in the back of Woking Crematorium.
Sometimes there's no
logic.
Yeah, no logical explanation. Something happens.
Know that he's still there. We don't know.
I mean, I think for me, if something like that happens, you look first of all for a logical explanation, but then there's not one, so you think, okay, maybe there is something there. I don't know, I think like you, Donnie, sort of, you can't believe it either way. I think that's kind of where I sit as well in some ways.
I mean, I'd like to think that that's not the end and that somebody is there keeping an eye on me, but like I say, you can't, I'm walking the dog in woods, there's going to be birds, isn't there? It makes sense for there to be a bird.
But a certain bird that was special to that person at that moment.
Yeah. And my grandma always used to count magpies, so if I'm having a bit of a tough time, I always seem to see we get a lot of magpies in the garden, so it's very peculiar, isn't it? I think it's lovely. I think it's nice to know that somebody's there keeping an eye on you.
Yeah, far from the sort of the media idea of a ghost being as scary as we talked about, scary and
it's
evil.
not like Scooby-Doo. No. But if it gives you peace. We're listening in the car and hearing about you saying about people not being able to move on. And Rosie has got she's got a fear of hospitals. She doesn't like, it's not going into the hospital. She needed to go for an appointment. She'd be fine. But she doesn't like the look of the outside of hospitals. And she always says there's people looking out the windows at her. Yeah.
And Rosie's 11, isn't she now? Yeah.
Rosie's here nodding her head. Yeah, she's 11.
Interesting. That's what we're saying about young people.
She gets the shivers and doesn't like it at all. And she's just adamant that there's people at every single window staring at her. Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. It goes back to what you're saying, doesn't it? Children and the younger generation sort of seeing things and being more open, I guess, to it.
Yeah. I mean, my best friend, when he was at the hospital, he was very scared. He was very scared to go to the light, and I had to go there to help him. People at hospitals, this is why we need to be very careful where we go when we're at hospitals, at certain places, and this is why, with the map and things, we need spiritual protection where we're walking, going to places. I mean, I go to hospitals to help other people when they're in comas and intensive care and things, but I need to have my spiritual protection because I actually see spirit. So even walking down the street, I see spirit, and it's like walking through a really heavy nightclub because they're constantly everywhere saying help me, and I'm like, so I have to open portals of light to help them go up.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, Donna, thank you for coming on and sharing your story. That was really, really interesting. I hope that this wants to help you a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm going to try that. So I'm going to, if so-and-so, can you do this? Or if you're so-and-so, can you do that? And see, if I'm in like a plaster cast on a broken ankle next week, John, we know it was Phil following me around.
Oh, okay.
15th time.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Donna. Good luck getting through that traffic as well around Woking, because it's got good fun, isn't
it? Thank you. No, it's not nice.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your day. There we go. There's Donna stuck in traffic at Woking. Joining us. And that's really interesting, Donna's point there. Not knowing, who it is, who's the sort of, I guess that can that be an issue, like multiple spirits and that confusion?
Yeah, it happens because, like, you know that there's somebody there in terms of, like, you have that sensation that there could be someone, next to you. Yeah. But you don't know who it is because sadly we get to a point where too many people have passed away, too many loved ones, But yeah, and that's where the clairsenses come in.
Okay, so we're going to talk some more. I know James has got a question. We'll come to that. So for now, my guest in the studio is Sunny Angel from Shiv Shakti Healing. An interesting conversation. And like you say, raising awareness of what you do and kind of, I don't know, moving away from that idea of ghosts being scary and evil. It's not always the case, as you said.
Yeah, it's not just about Halloween, because we only talk about ghosts and spirits around Halloween time, for just the week or the day. But spirits are always around us, either in terms of loved ones or trapped souls or, spirit attachments or entities.
Okay, James has been in touch. He got in touch on our Facebook with a question. James would like to know, Sunny, do you believe in life after death? And if so, what do you believe?
Okay, very good question. Thanks, James. Yes, I do. I do believe in life after death. I didn't always, because when I'd lost loved ones, I just thought once you're gone, you're gone. That's how I used to believe, and I used to be really sad. But then something changed in a big way for me. In 2004, I was widowed when I was 25. My husband, Ray, was only 32 at the time, and 3 months before he died, I miscarried our son. So 2004 was a terrible year for me.
Wow.
It was soul-destroying. But because I had to wait 71 days for his funeral, the grief was really, really hard for me. I just couldn't deal with it, to be honest. I kept sensing him everywhere, and at the time, I did not know anything about the clairsenses. I just thought, maybe I'm going mad, and people around me were like, he's not coming back, he's not gonna come back. And I just kept thinking, well, if I just, wash his clothes here, do this here, because grief is separate to actually thinking they're coming back, quite often we think, just let it go now, you have to deal with the funeral, so you have to do this, and people are constantly telling you there's a process to grief.
Well, grief is, I mean, being there myself, it's different for everyone, isn't it? It's a unique journey.
But the thing is, my friends were saying, we can see him. we can feel him as well. We can see him. He's there. And that's when it kind of clicked for me. When I was like, no, he's not dead. He's there. I can see him. And then people were like, no, we think you're losing it. But then all of a sudden, there would be someone sitting there on the sofa with me, and they were like, Sonny, I can see him, or there's something moving, we can see that moving, and all of a sudden, things will start getting knocked off. Randomly the phone will start ringing, but there's nobody there, or when there's nothing there, or the radio will just start coming on, I'll be home alone, and the radio will start coming on.
Was that quite scary when it happened, when you, in those early days?
I wasn't that scared, because I was just like, I'd had half a bottle of JD, to be honest with you, at the time. At the time, I was just like, am I imagining it, Because I was just like, no, it's like, then I'd asked a friend to sit with me, because then it started to get a bit serious, because I was like, no, I'm going to do this sober, And I'd asked a friend to sit with me, and then they were like, no, the radio is going on. They were like, no, Sonny, it's not. It's just you. You just want it to happen, And then the wedding song was coming on. That was the only song coming on. And then
that's some coincidence, isn't it? I mean, you sort of look and think, it's a coincidence there, but for that song to play in that situation, I mean,
it was getting scary. So then someone said, look, we know someone that knows somebody else that is like a medium, and they'll come into the house. She came into the house, and she looked at the place where Ray passed away. She did not know what happened in the house. She looked at the spot where Ray had died, and she was like getting goosebumps, and she started to feel a bit sick. She was getting her clairsenses going, and she was just like, he's a trapped soul, he's here, he's with you, he's not letting go.
And what was your reaction at this point? I mean, you said you didn't necessarily believe it. Were you sort of thinking, or dismissing it, or how were you How are you feeling?
I just shocked. I really, because I thought, why is she looking at that place? She went straight into the corner.
She didn't know beforehand, obviously.
She didn't know. She didn't know. She didn't know, and she didn't know me. She didn't know any of the history, and I was very careful and guarded. Like, I didn't want to tell her any information. You know, in fact, I was just saying, yeah, he went and died in that room over there. You know, I was telling her the wrong room and everything on purpose. And no, she found the spot exactly, and she was like, no, he's a trapped soul. And I said, well, what do I do? What can I do to help? And she was like, no, I will try and speak to him. And I was like, this looks a bit odd. You know, what's his phone number? You know, and I was being really silly about it, you know, because I didn't take it seriously enough. And then she said, no, he wants to stay. He's not going. He wants to stay because he doesn't want to leave right now. And I was like, I didn't know you had a choice. You know, well, he's gone. So yeah, it was really, really hard. And then. So she was someone that did mediumship. She came over, but then in 2010 I went and saw a different spiritual lady. 6 years though. This is 6 years since he passed, for healing, to learn Reiki. And she said, there's a spirit next to you. And I just didn't know what to make of it, because I thought, oh shit, he's still here, you know, because I'd already moved on. I'd got married and had a child and divorced, and I thought, shit, I started feeling really bad, you know. So, and my daughter, she then was like 4, and she started to say, Mum, there's a man next to my bed, you know. And I picked up a baseball bat thinking, what's going on? And she said, no, Mummy, he's vanished now. And she was describing Ray, and I thought, look, he can't be trapped forever. I need to do something about this. So I learnt mediumship. I'd learnt about my clairsenses, and I learnt how to see him, how to talk to him. And then my radio, so I'd have a CD, and the radio kept coming up with a wedding song. And, you know, so he kept doing all this, and then other people, so I met one of his old friends, and he was like, I can see him. He's sitting there
like
that.
People were seeing him as well, so it wasn't just you.
It wasn't just me. I'm thinking, am I going mad? And it's like, no, other people could see it.
It's interesting how that, you know, that life event to you led to you kind of, you know, going from someone not taking it particularly seriously to then thinking, there's something in this, and going down your own journey from there. Yeah, so it's been like 20 years. So he finally went to the light. He's not still with me. Right. So I just thought I'd say that. No, he finally did go to the light, because when he was ready to go, he finally did go to the light. But 2 years ago, my best friend Paul, he was very scared of dying, and he didn't believe in any of this. He always called it mumbo jumbo. He wasn't religious, but he was, you know, he was like, no, I don't believe in any of this. And he goes, I believe in you, but I don't believe in any of this, and which is fair enough. But he'd got cancer, and he died of sepsis in the end. And so I went to the hospital, and I said, look, you might not believe in any of this, but when you see the light, please just go. And it was heartbreaking, but I said, I don't want you to be a trapped soul. Wow. I mean, it's really fascinating to talk to you, as I say, just to raise that awareness that it's not just all, you know, scary. It's actually, some people find quite comforting, don't they, having loved ones still around and feeling their presence.
But the thing is, once they go to the light, it doesn't mean that they're gone forever. They can come back and visit, you know. It just means that they're no longer trapped. They can still come back and visit.
They're freed almost.
Yeah, they're freed. Exactly. That's a beautiful word. You know, they're absolutely freed. They can still come back and visit any time they want. But they're just no longer trapped.
It's been really interesting talking to you today, and to hear your story, and to hear other people see Donna's story and James's question as well. So if you want to find out more about Shiv Shakti healing and what you do, how do we do that?
Well, you can find me on my website, www.shivshaktihealing.com, SHIVSHAKTI healing.com. Me and Donna, we're going to do a paranormal event this Friday, the 28th of February, 7 p.m. at Bisley Studio, which is near the Bisley Yurt. Or, you know, just contact me on Facebook, or contact via you.
Yes, get in touch.
The other thing I'd say is about the maps, though.
Yes, we're going to mention this, won't we? The maps. So this is really interesting. This is an online resource where you can look at the history of where you live or where you are, sort of now and then, side by side.
Yeah, so you can look at what it was like 50 years ago, 100, 200 years ago. So that's the National Library of Scotland. The maps on your phone or on the computer, and it will show your location. So where you're walking, when you walk with the dogs, or just generally just walking around your house, anywhere really, Wales, Scotland, UK, and it's free.
Yeah. That 3 is good. That would be interesting because obviously if you think there is something, you can maybe go back and look and see what was happening where you are in the past, and you might be able to kind of put that piece of jigsaw together through that.
Yeah, so like here near Radio Woking, yes. There used to be Woking's old prison, which was more famous than Broadmoor in its time. So you can imagine the energy around here, and then just where the local Sainsbury's is, that was the old asylum.
Yes, imagine that. You walk out doing your shopping, oblivious to what was going on that site in the past. So, yes, lots of years in Woking. So it's been interesting to talk to you, though, and interesting to find out more about what you do. And what is the event on Friday? Give us those details again.
So for Friday the 28th, it's at 7 p.m. to 8:15 at Bisley Studio near Bisley Yurt. That's me and Donna. Donna is a paranormal investigator, so she'll have the equipment like REM pods, spirit boxes, and we'll have like dowsing rods. So we're just explaining how it is that we do paranormal investigations, and I'll be talking about trapped souls, spiritual protection. So when we're out there, how to recognise if there's spiritual attachments, and if your child is basically telling you that I'm seeing people at the end of the bed, what to do, how to contact us, and if you need a paranormal investigation at your house, come see us.
Interesting. Well, hopefully, we hope to change some perceptions of the paranormal world through this conversation. Have a good session on Friday. I'm sure that'll be really useful for everyone coming along.
Thank you so much.
Lovely to see you. Thank you. There you go. Sunny Angel joining us on the show this morning.
Monica's going off.
Oh yeah.
Oh, do you want to film that? So yeah, there's there you go.
Yeah, my favourite.
And weirdly this has stopped, so
Yeah.
is it now shifted? Have you moved over to the doll? Come back and say, we'll move it to yes if that's right. Did you set the doll off? To Monica?
Oh.
Sorry, that's the correct name.
What does that
Is
say?
that yes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's brilliant, thank you. Can you go and do something else? Can you set the REM pod off, the red light by the door? Please walk over to that.
Shall we see what they...
I'm going to be so impressed if you can make that light up and buzz.
Does it just come over there? That's